What's up? In today's video, I'm going to tell you everything you need to know about the Fox Body Mustang, what you need to know before you buy one. We're going to go over everything you could possibly want to know. We're going to go from each style, each variance, each submodel, transmission, engine, power, quarter mile times, everything you could possibly want to know about a Fox Body Mustang is going to be in this video, and we're going to get right into it. A quick who am I? I'm Chaz Haynes, and I built a turbo Fox Body Mustang, and here's this video of it. Alright, so the third gen Mustang, the Fox Body Mustang, the longest running generation Mustang of Ford's history. It lasted all the way from 1979 to 1993. There's a ton of these cars. There's just under a touch of 370,000 produced. I mean, if you think about it, that's a ton. So Fox bodies are everywhere, if you were wondering. But let's talk about the exterior of these cars, because it went through a lot of changes throughout the 13 years that it was produced. So the biggest and notable one is from 79 to 86, as known as the four-eyed Fox Body. All those cars had the four headlights, and then they're known as the four-eyed Fox, obviously. So then from 87 to 93 is known as the Aero design, or the aerodynamic design. That's with the smooth headlights, and that's the generation that's quite a bit more popular, just because it had fuel injection and some other things we're going to talk about. But from that 79 to 86, those years, there was lots of little differences with the front ends. I mean, from 79 to 81, there was the hatch front end, and then 82, they brought down that really aggressive GT look, and then 83, 84 had the Ford symbol in the front, and then 85 and 86, they actually smoothed out the front end, and that's what I have, is an 86, and it looks quite a bit different. I just blew through like a ton of history right there. And then in 87, like I said earlier, they had changed it all up. And the same thing goes for the interior. From 79 to 86, they had it was totally different. The interior was different, and the speakers were not as good as the later models. They're actually lacking in 2 less speakers. But then from 87 to 93, they did a whole interior change. Everything was different, and so you can make that decision whether you like one or the other better. I like the 79-86 interior better, but I really wish it had better speakers, because 2 little tweeters in the front and 6x9s in the back, then you can't hear anything. It's lame. I wish they would have changed that, but I digress. Let's keep going. Let's talk about the drivetrain options that came with the Fox Body Mustang, and I think you'll be shocked about how much power they didn't have. Alright, so from 79 to 86, there was like a ton of different engine options. So if you're looking for one, you can actually know what you're getting, because I didn't even know they made these many options back then. So you could have got a 2.3 liter turbo in your Fox Body, you could have got a 3.3 liter V6, or you could have got a 4.2 liter V8, or, you know, the 5.0, which we all know is awesome. So those were the engine options you could have got from 79 to 86. But from 79 to 85, they were all carbureted 5.0s. And so in 82 was the release of the 5.0 high output, or HO. And so throughout the years from 79 to 93, the 5.0 made all kinds of different powers. Like just totally changed throughout the course of its life. So I'm just gonna put a chart up so you can see how much power each year made. But like I was talking about earlier, at 87, basically lived at 225 horsepower and 300 foot-pounds of torque. So 85 was the last year of carbureted, and then in 86, it all switched over to electronic fuel injection. And actually in 86, the horsepower dropped down a little bit, but in 87, it dropped back up from differences in the intake manifold and certain other little things that made a tiny bit more power. But so from 87 to 93, they dropped a ton of those engines. So you only got a 5.0, or you got the 2.3 liter NA. No turbo on those ones. So that's what you got. So just keep that in mind. In those years, in 89 is when they officially switched from speed density and went over to a mass airflow design. And actually, just for whoever's watching this, I know someone's going to say it. In 1988 in California, you could have got mass air on your Fox Body too. Now let's get into the transmission part of this, because it's same thing. Tons of differences, tons of changes. So for manual transmissions, the first transmission that came in the Fox body was an S-Rod. And it was a 4-speed, only could handle 200 foot-pounds of torque, and one very strong. And so from 79 to 82, that's what you got. And then from 83 to 84, you got the non-world class T5, which could handle a little bit more, 265 foot-pounds of torque, which was definitely an improvement over the S-Rod. And then from 85 to 89, you got the newer world class. That still can handle 265 foot-pounds of torque, but they upgraded some internal gearing for the upgrade of EFI in the cars. And then from 90 to 93, they upgraded the T5 again, and it could handle about 300 foot-pounds of torque. They just upgraded synchros and bearings and some shims just so it could handle a little bit more power, because T5s are really known for not being able to hold that much power. If you've heard anything about T5, you've probably heard that they aren't very strong. But I got a built one in my car. But for automatic transmissions, so in the beginning, they had the C4. And you had the C4 from like 79 to 82, you could get a C4. And then in 84, they rolled out the AOD. So you could actually get an AOD in your Fox body, and that's a 3-speed automatic transmission. And that's what lived in the Fox body for the rest of its life, was the AOD 3-speed automatic transmission that everybody knows so much about. So those are the options that you would get in your Fox body during those years for transmissions. So let's talk about the special editions, just in case you run into one of these on the street. You might just want to pick it up because they're pretty stinking cool. All right, so the special edition cars are the SVO Mustang. And the SVO came out from 84 to 86, and this was the turbocharged 2.3 liter that came in the Mustang, and actually had the first air-to-air intercooler out of all these 2.3s. There's a really cool commercial for it. You gotta go look it up after this. But they made a ton of power. Not as some people, I've heard that it makes more than the GT, but after my research, that wasn't quite true. It made a little bit less. So the specs on it were 205 horsepower and 248 foot-pounds of torque. But the other thing Ford did is they put bigger brakes on this thing. They had discs on all 4 wheels, which was, none of the Mustangs had that at that time. And it was just a little rocket, weighed way less because you only had the 4-cylinder in there. And it was just a cool car. I mean, you can see those 2.3 turbos all over the place, ripping it up. It was a cool engine, and it was definitely something really cool that Ford came out with. Then also, you could get the GT350. It was Oxford white and had medium canyon red interior. It would come with a 2.3 liter turbo or the 5.0. And it had the iconic GT350 stickers all over it. The other one is the 79 pace car. The 79 pace car you could actually get with a 2.3 turbo and the 5.0 as well. Those were the options you could get during those years. But let's talk about the best one, the one that everybody talks about, the 93 Cobra. The 93 Cobra has to be the coolest Fox body ever. So they came out with the 93 Cobra. It was making 235 horsepower and 280 foot-pounds of torque. So what they did is they put GT40 heads on it, they revised the cam on it, made the T5 stronger, put underdrive pulleys on it, and a couple other things, and that's how they got the power out of it. It's such a cool car that they did. They put bigger brakes on the thing so it could stop better, and it had heavier duty suspension on that 93 Cobra as well as the exterior style of the thing had different ground effect than the other cars, and it had the cool Cobra badges all over it. That was the 93 Cobra, just a really cool one. And then they came out in 93, they had the Cobra R as well, that just no power steering, no accessories, and that was, I mean, that was a Cobra R. It was just bare bones, race car kind of thing. They're still doing it today with, you know, the GT350R, no back seats and everything. So that's what you got with the 93 Cobra. All right, so let's talk about the weights of all these cars, because it did vary a lot from year to year, different body stylings and that kind of thing. So I got a piece of paper because I can't remember these things off the top of my head. So if you had an LX50 notch, the lightest one, the one that everybody makes drag cars out of, it weighed, and this is what I got straight from multiple sources on the internet. So, I mean, your car could be different. There's variances and everything, but this is the consensus on the internet, is 3,037 pounds for the LX50 notch. But if you got a convertible, it goes up like 200 pounds to 3,238. So if you got that with auto transmission, it goes up 50 pounds to 3,100. And then what if it was a convertible, it was 3,300 pounds. So then if you had a GT50, it was 3,200 pounds, and if you had the convertible version of it, it was 3,330. Yeah, so quite a bit more weight. And if it had the auto, you went to, for the GT, 3,250, and the convertible was a 3,450. So big jumps. So then the LX50 hatch, that was a little bit lighter than the GT version. It was 3,100 pounds for a T5 or a manual transmission, and then the automatic transmission had 3,150, so just like a 50-pound increase. So those are the curb weights. I had to rattle them off on here, I wouldn't remember. So in quarter mile, if you're gonna get a Fox body, this is what you're getting into, is you're gonna probably be running a low 14 quarter mile, and that's on a good day because they weren't that fast. I mean, we're talking about 220 horsepower. Fox body was not all that fast when it first came out, but the reason why everybody loves them so much is it's a light chassis. You can rip it out and it doesn't weigh anything at all, and you can make a ton of power with the base engine that you got. You got a V8, or you could put a bigger V8 in there, and so that's why it's the greatest engine ever. So that's why you should buy a Fox body Mustang. If you found value in this video, like, comment, subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next video.